Welcome back. It's the BWI Daily Recruiting Show. I'm Greg Pickel, Ryan Snyder, the insider on Penn State recruiting from Blue White Illustrated. Joins us on this episode of the Daily. It's Tuesday, May 17, and all we're talking about now, Ryan, is official visits, top 5 list, and of course the brand new On 300 for the class of 2024. It's a busy week for you. It's a busy week for recruits across the country, narrowing down their list, setting official visits. And, you know, we have talked on the show previously about pointing toward July and the craziness of last year and the fact that it was going to almost certainly repeat itself. And everything right now is certainly lining up for that to be the case. You have a lot of guys setting up 3, 4, 5 official visits for the month of June. And then you're going to start seeing a lot of those guys commit once those trips are in the books.
Yeah, Penn State has about 3 dozen or so. I think the number's like right around 32, 34, so a little under 3 dozen official visits set for June right now. And man, I mean, I don't know if I've talked to every single one of them about their plans, but I think it's safe to say that, you know, at least half of them, probably more like 2/3 of them, are planning to get this over with before their senior season. So a few of them may drag into August, but everything's lining up for, first off, July 4th, as I'm sure you remember last year, Greg, that was a busy one. We've already got a few guys, you know, claiming they're going to commit on July 4th. So that'll be another wasted holiday probably for us, but it is what it is. Comes with the job. So
yeah, okay. My wife's birthday is going to be commitment filled yet again, it looks like. So
that's right. I forgot about that last year. Yeah, sorry.
That's anyway, all right. We'll get through it like we always do.
Yeah, but yeah, early July into mid-July will be packed, and you know it'll slow down a little bit as you get to the second half of the month. But you know, then right when you get towards preseason, you'll probably have another little quick surge of guys ready to bang it out before their senior season start. But all signs are pointing to July being a hectic month. But you know, I wouldn't be shocked if we see a couple commitments in June as well, especially for a player I just put an RPM in for.
Right. We're going to get to that in 1 second. Just before we dive into that, I just want to make a note. We're talking about a lot of guys who want to decide in June or July. One player who won't, Derek LeBlanc, the 4-star defensive lineman out of Florida. He was supposed to announce on July 23. He's going to push that back, or at least that's his plan for now. The longtime listeners of the show know, as Ryan always says, guys say they're going to push things back, and then when push comes to shove and the dominoes start to fall, you know, those plans of waiting around kind of can go by the wayside. So just one note there, but let's get into your latest On3 recruiting prediction machine pick. It's for a player out of the state of Florida, obviously Penn State with Ryan Snyder and with Manny Diaz and with other members of the staff have long been pushing into Florida, and they already have one commit from the state, and you think they're in line to get another one.
Not only just from the state, but from the same school, St. Thomas Aquinas, right. Of course. Talking about King Mack, Conrad Hussey's teammate, put in a pick on Monday. And really, I probably could have put that pick in a couple weeks ago. I've been talking to just colleagues and sources about it for a long time. I mean, Penn State has felt good here for, I don't know, at least maybe not a month, but certainly right after Conrad Hussey committed, there was a lot of talk that, you know, King Mack was seriously considering Penn State. I think I'd be surprised, honestly, if that commitment comes in May. I kind of get the impression right now that he's coming up here June 17th, I believe it is, for an official visit. And I think there's a lot of signs pointing to him leaving campus a Penn State commit. Nothing's guaranteed. And of course, you know, King doesn't talk a whole lot either, right? So if he lines up another visit or two, you know, we'll keep an eye on it. But right now, Penn State seems to be the only official visit he has set. Miami's interested, but I don't know how interested. Of course, he visited Notre Dame way back in July. But, you know, Penn State seems to be in a pretty good position here with the St. Thomas Aquinas prospect, who just put up some really good times in the track and field. Did you have that offhand, Greg? I should have pulled that up.
I do not, but if you keep I'll keep looking. So
was it? I think it was like a 10-6 or something like that. And I know he finished fourth.
It was
Yeah, I know he finished fourth in the 100 meter for Florida, you know, state track and field championships this past weekend. His main discipline is the 400, where he won this past weekend. I think it was like a 46 I forget the exact time, a 46 something. It was a great time. Again, he won 46.68, I believe it was. Winning gold for Florida in the 400. Like I said, he finished fourth in the 100 with a 10.64. So plenty of speed to offer there. He's a pretty good player. I think he had like 50 plus tackles last year as a safety,
Yep.
4 interceptions, I believe it was, and a couple fumble recoveries and forced fumbles as well. So. I think all signs are pointing to Penn State here. It looks good, and that June 17th weekend, I'll be watching him extremely closely.
Ryan's RPM pick has Penn State as a 95.5% favorite to land King Mack. He's 5'10", 175, an on-3 consensus 4-star and one of the top 400 players in the nation. And I think he's a guy that, as we get more into this cycle, could see himself rise pretty considerably. That's been pretty consistent across the board. If you look at the industry comparisons, that he's a player that I think, as more tape gets out there on him, and he has every chance to be, if not a summer riser, a guy who does in the fall at a position of certainly need for Penn State, Ryan.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you bring that up. I actually just talked to Charles Power about him. Was it Sunday night or Monday night? And I they got to shake some things out still. But these track times that he's put up this year, and they always like this film. They were just trying to get a better feel on a couple other things. But I think there's a very good chance he ends up being a 4-star player by the time it's all said and done.
Well, we will keep an eye out on him. You are listening to the BWI Daily Recruiting Show edition. It's Tuesday, May 17th. I'm Greg Pickel. He's Ryan Snyder. And speaking of On3, we're going to go into the latest On3 class of 2024 rankings right now. So first things first, I think we've talked about this on previous shows. Certainly we have on the Lions Den message board, which of course you can join for $1 for 1 year of access by visiting bluewhiteillustrated.com. But On3's ranking process is a little bit different than what I think most are accustomed to in terms of how often they get updated. So this is, if you have listened to previous shows and you feel like you've heard class of 2024 rankings talk before, that's because things get updated around here pretty quick. So it's not waiting around for the entirety of a cycle or 2 or 3 times a cycle to make those updates. They happen more frequently than that. So the latest one came out today, on Monday. We're here talking on Tuesday. Cooper Cousins, the lone Penn State class of 2024 commit. He did drop a bit, Ryan. I'm not sure if you've been able to get any insight on that, but still the nation's number 210 player. And just my gut feeling, not knowing anything about anything in terms of why he fell, I don't believe he did any camps or anything this spring.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine that necessarily helped in that regard. It's not that they're the end-all be-all, but when you see guys shuffle, sometimes it's because we're ranking new players and they're just slotting in, and guys slot down because there's nowhere for him to go necessarily, or it's sometimes you just don't have as much info as you have on some other guys because they hit the camp circuit and so on and so forth.
Exactly. This is the second ranking for 2024. This is whether you're at On3 or 24/7 or Rivals, doesn't matter what the site is. When you're ranking players for the second time in a class, there's always massive movement. I was going through, so when I went through the On300 before it came out, I think that I only had 2 players who didn't move to some degree, and those were the guys like right at the very top, and Desmond Ricks and Dylan Stewart, and pretty much everybody else moved. I think, yeah. So first off, there was about 20, I think at least 20 guys who were like moved up above them, just like had nothing to do with Cooper, right? It's just guys either jumping into the On300 or moving up because of camps. And then, yeah, like you said, I mean, there's just no new information where, out of the On300 guys, probably at least half of them or so did camps this year. So there's a lot of new information, whether it's just track and field times or updated heights and weights, whatever it may be. So I don't look at it as a real negative. I mean, this is always the one thing I talk about with these rankings is I think fans put a lot of stock into the individual number more than just like tiers. I mean, I talk about this all the time. If I was doing the rankings, I would do more of a tiered system than, Johnny's 175 and Tom's 195. I just think if you just look at it more as like a tier system. I just think it's a way better way to do it. But of course, if that was the case, somebody would have came out with a number system at some point, and that would have been the way it's always done. So I understand why it is. It's just better for fans, I think, as far as popularity. But long story short, we'll roll through some of these guys here that kind of stood out to me. Quentin Martin still remains one of the top prospects in the country at number 19 overall. He was previously number 16. Tyseer Denmark dropped a couple spots down to number 46. But those two are firmly the top two prospects in Pennsylvania, and I don't think there's really any debate. I expect those guys to consistently, at minimum, be top 100 prospects. Right now, they're top 50, and I don't think that's going to change a whole lot. Penn State's two of Penn State's top quarterback prospects are also ranking among the top 100. Jaden Bradford, who of course is from South Carolina, but is now at IMG Academy. He's ranked number 46 in the country, or excuse me, number 40 in the country. And Jaden Davis is number 75. He moved down about 10 spots or so. Of course, Jaden's from outside Charlotte. So Jaden has some good things to say about his visit this past week. Greg, what was it? Did he say it was one of his best visits ever or something like that? It was,
yeah, I was going to say you're underselling it a bit. Yeah, he basically said that, it was one of the best trips he's ever taken. So, I mean, yeah, obviously they're doing a lot of good work with him. But as we know, Ryan, there's a long way to go for these guys. And good visits in April for class of 2024 guys can go a long way toward getting you, have them back on campus for the fall. But there's still a lot of work left to be done. But so far, so good there. It's pretty clear to me that Mike Yurcich has really developed a strong relationship, Ryan, with a number of these quarterbacks. We don't see him on social media as much. And, when coaches are out on the road, he's not necessarily the one that's always in photos posing for pictures and things like that. But he clearly knows what he's looking for. He clearly knows the guys that he wants to prioritize. And he has done a very nice job so far of making sure Penn State has its foot well within the door, even though these guys are at a very early stage of their recruitment.
Mm-hmm. Of course, they also hosted, Julian Stayen from California as well. Julian actually ranks a little higher than, or little bit below Jaden Bradford, number 47 overall. So Penn State has hosted three of the country's top quarterbacks. Of course, Dylan Raiola just committed to Ohio State. He's the number one prospect right now in 2024, and Penn State fans are going to get to know his name pretty well because he's a hell of a player. But a couple other guys, Liam Andrews is going to be, I think, one of Penn State's top interior offensive line prospects. He's from up there in New England. He's number 82 overall. There is a couple other Pennsylvania guys in the top 100. Deshaun Dotson is a guy I need to get to know better. I've been trying to build a relationship with him. Haven't really been able to do that so far, but he's at number 91 overall. And fans can go on our website and check out the whole list. I don't want to take up all day going through some of these guys, but I think Pennsylvania looks pretty good. I would say it's maybe a little bit of an average to a bit of above average year for Pennsylvania. A couple guys did drop out from that first ranking, but
what about the region as a whole?
I would say Maryland's okay. I have to put the numbers in front of me. You kind of threw me on the spot there. I don't know New Jersey's numbers off the top of my head. I think it'll probably be a little bit of a better year than 2023 as far as the region's concerned. But again, you look at different positions. It's I could show you one position that's stacked and another that's not. So certainly cornerback compared to this year. I know corner's really kind of down in 2023. And, you have guys like Kaj Sanders out there who I think Penn State will be in a pretty good position with. And Braden Lee, is another one. But it looks, I would say, a little bit above average for the region. But, maybe we can talk next week. I can give you a little more specific numbers. I haven't gone through and counted exactly for Maryland, New Jersey, and other states.
Well, speaking of Maryland in the class of 2024, two prospects from the state are going to be on Penn State's campus this weekend. To find out who, visit us at bluewhiteillustrated.com, where it's just $1 for a year of access. Ryan posted that on Tuesday morning. I don't want to get into the who, Ryan, but before we move on here, I think it's probably worth just stopping quick to note that this will be, I believe, Penn State's first visit weekend of May.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their only one. Coaches will go on vacation that Memorial Day weekend. They try and get a little time with their family, 4 or 5 days away from the office before the monstrous June comes streaming in. So of course, Whiteout Camp is going to be that first weekend in June too. So you got a visit weekend this weekend. Coaches getting some R&R Memorial Day weekend, and then boom, we started off with a bang for the Whiteout Camp. And of course, there's going to be a lot of official visits then throughout. One guy who we'll just go right into it, Greg, has set an official visit for that Whiteout weekend is Jason Moore out of DeMatha. He announced a handful of official visits this past weekend that everybody's been trying. Everyone's been bugging Jason, man, for, I don't know, probably a month or so now. So I was happy to see he got those out there. Penn State is set for June 3rd to the 5th. And right now he is the only guy that I expect to be on campus Whiteout Camp weekend. Penn State was trying basically not to host guys that weekend, but Jason also has 3 other official visits set for Notre Dame on June 10th, Michigan on June 17th, and Ohio State for June 24th. So Penn State could not, they had to get him on campus at some point, right? So they'll gladly get him here June 3rd to 5th. And it might be a good thing that he's the only official visitor that weekend. But the competition is absolutely stacked for Jason Moore. It is not going to be easy. I think Notre Dame has put themselves in a strong position, but he has been to Ohio State. He did go out to Ohio State in April. I don't believe he has been to Michigan yet, but he's going to end up in one of these Northeastern, Midwest powerhouse programs. I think that's pretty clear that these are going to be his top 4 schools. Maybe he'll get another visit in there, but I think it'll be one of these 4. And Penn State's going to have some work to do. So we will see. They're going to host him first and going to have to try and fend off some serious competition to get to the DeMatha prospect.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that they have a realistic chance. He was on campus in January as well. But, I mean, you just need to take one look at the On3 recruiting prediction machine. It leans heavily in the favor of the Fighting Irish. Penn State does get him on campus. That's huge. But as we always talk about, if you had your choice in almost every circumstance, you would want the last official visit, not the first official visit. Penn State gets the first one here. So you got to take what you can get with top 40 players, Ryan. But to your point, they are going to, and we all know how good Penn State and James Franklin and his staff are when they get players on campus. So you can overcome having visit 1 instead of visit 5. But I don't think there's any question that, they have a steep hill to climb in this one. They have a hat on the table, and it's more than just a hat on the table, but there's a lot of work left to be done.
Yeah, and I'll say like the 91.5% in the RPM, that's mainly because Mike Singer put in a pick for Notre Dame. I'm trying to think, when was that? I can pull it up here. I think
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. There you go. Beat me to it. So, I don't know if Mike's as confident in that pick as he was back then. I remember having a lot of conversations with him about it. But Jason's just a hard guy to read. He's not into the media scene a lot. I mean, he does. Don't get me wrong. When there's news and stuff, he's very, very good to us. I've talked to him a couple of times, but he's not a flashy guy putting everything on Twitter. He's not someone who's staying in touch with us behind the scenes all the time, like some other players do. So I don't really feel confident that saying anyone is a true favorite in this one. I just feel confident in saying that the competition is steep and that really Ohio State wouldn't shock me. Michigan wouldn't shock me. Notre Dame wouldn't shock me. I think there's just a lot of stuff he has to sort out still. That's kind of the main thing I'm pushing.
And that's what all these official visits for so many players, including Jason Moore, will be about: sorting things out, getting to the bottom of what you know from previous visits versus what you still need to know, and then how can you compare all of that stuff from school to school, visit to visit, and so on and so forth. So good note there. Thanks to Chad Simmons of On3 for digging out all of that intel for us. Now let's move on to another official visitor who set one up for Penn State, D. Creighton. He also shortened his list up a bit. It's funny because some of these guys, and this is not the case with D. Creighton, but some of these guys you're getting top 8 or top 10 or top 12 lists, but then you're also seeing 5 official visits set. So, those other 6 schools might as well just forget about it in most cases. But D. Creighton's one that Penn State's in on as well.
Yeah, and that's always silly to me. Somebody did a top 10 last week, but also announced 5 official visits. I wasn't a Penn State prospect. I just saw it online. UCF, Missouri, Clemson, Penn State, and Auburn for D. Creighton. The question with D is really, he's always been a good player. I question some things about his speed. I believe he runs a plus 540. So that's only ever really been the only knock on him. Everything else, he really reads the line of scrimmage well, and actually isn't terrible in space either. For considering that 40 time, but Penn State seems to be pushing here. I was a little surprised that they had him up for an official visit over Phil Picciotti, but I think clearly that obviously Phil didn't include Penn State in his top schools this past week, but I was still a little bit surprised that they were hosting D. Creighton for official visit in the summer. I thought maybe in the fall it would make more sense, but the main reason I'm saying that is because he's a true Mike. And the one thing that's become pretty clear to me since Manny Diaz took over the program is that I don't think they really need or are pushing hard for a true Mike. They want athletic guys that can run in space. Tamir Robinson is that. Tony Rojas is that. And I really think the other linebacker now that we need to seriously start focusing on is Corey Lucius out of Tampa Catholic, of course, in Tampa, Florida. Terry Smith was down there to see him Thursday, I believe. And I know Manny Diaz was at the school as well. So I'll say this. I mean, Corey doesn't talk a whole lot, but from what I understand, Boston College has an official visit set with him, and we know Penn State has an official visit set as well. I don't know the date for Boston College. I've been trying to lock that down. I've just been told that from sources. We do know the Penn State official visit is June 10th, but I thought for, I don't know, about a month or two now that they'd be pretty happy with 2 linebackers, and if they get Tamir and they get Tony, that'll probably be it. I think now, after talking to more people, I think they would seriously take Corey Lucius along with those 3. He's a heck of a player. He runs really well. I'd love to get him on the phone to learn more about his recruitment. Greg and I have both been trying hard to get him. I don't think Corey's done an interview with anyone. I haven't seen
If he
any
has, I
interviews
haven't
with
found
any
it.
site.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I haven't found anything. So he's going to be a difficult one to learn about, but Penn State certainly has his foot in the door. Manny Diaz was, I believe, the first school to offer him while he was at Miami. And then I think Penn State was the second school to offer. So, of course, Manny being at Penn State now, that bodes well. There's strong relationships there with both. I do know that Corey went to Miami last July, and then I believe he went to like USF, or I think it was USF in January. But there's not a whole lot out there. From what I was told from sources, again, Boston College has an official visit set with him. I'm not sure which weekend. And we do know, again, Penn State's June 10th. So keep an eye on Corey Lucius. I think he's Penn State's to lose. But again, with Tamir and Tony and scholarships tight and, the depth of the defensive tackles and defensive ends, like they're going to have to sort that out. So 2 linebackers still seems the most realistic to me. And, of course, let's not rule out D. Creighton either. I know I kind of skipped over him here. But, 3, if it's Corey Lucius, it might happen.
Very good. Well, Penn State linebacker board certainly coming into shape here. If you would have said in September 17th or October 17th that Phil Picciotti would not be a finalist, Penn State would not be a finalist for him, I think many of us would have been shocked. But it was not all that surprising last Friday when his top 4 came out, and it did not include the Nittany Lions. So Brent Pry leaving there kind of changed that recruitment in a way that we couldn't have saw coming prior to that happening. So the linebacker board looks to be in pretty obvious shape, Ryan. A lot of other positions are in the same boat. You've been tracking those with your hot boards over at BWIIllustrated.com. And yeah, like I said earlier in the show, we are getting into the time of year now where things start to become a little bit clearer on the recruiting front in terms of who's going to go see what and do what and visit where and when and why. So certainly a lot to learn over the couple of weeks ahead here. And then June will be rapid fire as we wrap up the show here. Ryan, any final thoughts on where things stand or kind of the week that's been, the week that was? Obviously, we're looking forward to visitors on campus this weekend, but so far it's just chugging along as the March to June keeps passing by. Time keeps passing by on that trek to June.
Yeah, a couple tidbits. I'm working on a cornerback board for probably Wednesday. I've spent a week working on that board because it's such a hard one to read with it being national. The 2 things I'll say is like Daniel Harris and Jalen Braxton. Both of whom have official visits at the Penn State. I think they're pretty clearly Penn State's top guys. And then there's a couple others mixed in there. Of course, they already have Lamont Payne. So I think they really just need to get one more at corner, and they'll be happy. Not saying they wouldn't take two more, especially with some of the talent there. But Daniel Harris, I think he's firmly been Penn State's top corner for a while now. I don't think anything has changed. I believe he ran like a low 10, 600-meter time this year. So they're very happy with that. And then, of course, Jalen Braxton, who you reported on, Greg, a week or 2 ago. He's very high on the board too. I believe Jalen Braxton's dad is a defensive back trainer. I need to look into that a little bit more, but somebody was talking to me about that the other week. So good lineage there. But other thing I'd say is just this upcoming weekend, small junior day. It's not going to be anything major. I was told probably under 20 prospects. But I also feel like people tell me that all the time, and it ends up being like 30 or so. So we'll see. I would expect it to be kind of underclassmen
One or the other
heavy.
usually, right? It's either going to be really big and then it's not quite as big as expected, or the other way around.
Yeah, this one, I mean, they're purposely trying to keep this small, which tells me they're trying to get top talent here, likely top underclassmen talent, since all the 2023 guys are setting official visits. So I would expect it to be some quality 2024 guys. Like I said, like you mentioned, I already have 2 players confirmed for that. You can check it out on the site. But we will do our best to get that to you. I am off to Austin, Texas. So, Greg, you can handle it. No, I'm kidding. I'll work on a little bit.
Happy anniversary, buddy. I got you covered. Don't you worry about it.
Yeah, we're heading out for a trip. So, we'll keep you in the loop though. And once I get back, we'll check in with all these guys. Who visited this past weekend.
Lots to do, lots to see, lots to hear. It's Penn State football in May. There's going to be team announcements coming, recruiting news coming, and you'll want to follow us at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com for the latest. Thank you for listening to another episode of the BWI Daily Recruiting Show. He's Ryan Snyder for Thomas Frank Carr, who produced for us. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe at youtube.com/BlueWhiteIllustrated or wherever you get your audio. We will catch you next time. This has been the BWI Daily Recruiting Show from Blue White Illustrated.